Paddy Power are offering huge money-back specials for the whole of December. Head to paddypower.com now for more information on the selected races. Max £10 refund per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+ BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome to the Monday Postcast. I'm Paddy Power. I'm back in the hot seat, and this week I'm joined by Racing Post colleague James Hill next to me. We've also got Brendan Duke and Paul Binfield from Paddy Power on the line. Coming up on today's Postcast, we're going to have a look at the weekend action at Cheltenham, Doncaster and Navan, give that a good review for you. And also we've got excellent racing at Ascot on Friday and Saturday that I'm getting really excited about. And of course, as always, your chance to win a free bet from Paddy Power. Right, chaps, we're going to crack on with Ascot this weekend. I'm personally very excited. I've had a bit of spare time in my hands the last few days. I've had a good old look at it. We're going to look at Saturday first, and of course the feature, the JLT Rev de Civler Long Walk Hurdle. Now, I think this is quite an interesting race because we've got the old guard of, you know what I mean, Harry and Little Rockefeller in there. We've also got quite a few young guns in Sam Spinner, Thomas Campbell and the World's End coming up as well. Binners, can we get some betting on this race for us first, please?
You certainly can, Maddie. It's 13-8. You know what I mean, Harry. 4-1, Lil Rockefeller and Lammy Surge. 11-2, Thomas Campbell, and 10-1, Sam Spinner and flamboyant owner Max McNeil's The World's End.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, I'm going to kick us off, Brendan. We were talking about this race beforehand, and you've got a very straightforward sort of view on it, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I think, you know what I mean, Harry, on his beloved soft ground with no penalty is entitled to be the price he is. I could see the Rockefeller on better ground, maybe. I mean, he loves Ascot, and you can never rule him out. He's as tough as nails. But Thomas Campbell and Sam Spinner have to step up. I think he's a fair price. You know what I mean, Harry? You know what you're going to get from him. He's going to run to something in the high 160s, and that'll probably be good enough.
Do you not think he should have won at Newbury last time? What did you make of that run behind Beer Goggles?
Well, indeed. What do you make of it? I mean, it's so hard to give you. I mean, you kind of have to assume that Beer Goggles ran a stone above what he'd shown before, getting the £6. But that's quite possible when you look at the position of Colin's sister, etc. That if he wasn't in the race, it would have made perfect sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's a fair argument. Now, as I said, we've got this sort of old guard and the new ones coming in. You mentioned Thomas Campbell. A lot of people are liking him for the Stayers Hurdle. Now, beforehand, Jimmy, me and you were saying that people might have got a little bit carried away with him, perhaps?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he won his 2 races at Cheltenham nicely, but I'm not sure he beat much on either occasion. And whilst he was well handicapped both times, I've never really seen him as a Grade 1 horse. He's talented, but quirky, and I just think coming up against tougher opposition might find him out.
I think he likes Ascot. What do you make of Sam Spinner then, Haydock winner? He was really good that day.
He was hugely impressive, and he's clearly a horse on the rise. I would prefer him a bit more to Thomas Campbell, certainly at the prices, but it's quite a big step up for him, this. I mean, he was running off quite a light weight at Haydock. Well, it was about 10.9, 10.8. And he was going to be carrying a lot more weight against much better opposition. So, yeah, I mean, my preference over Sam Spinner of horses at a bigger price to take on the likes of, you know what I mean, Harry, would be the World's End. And he was, of course, favourite at Haydock and a little bit disappointing.
Did you not find him a bit disappointing? What reasons would you give for that?
Well, I think probably, whilst he has won at Haydock on soft ground, I think personally, generally, if you look at his performances in the spring, where he was really impressive, I think he would have finished a good second at Cheltenham and the Albert Bartlett had he not fallen. I think really he's a better horse on better ground. And whilst it's not going to be spring-like ground at Ascot this weekend, I do think generally it's going to be a bit better for him. Plus, he's also had a run under his belt. So I'd be, on what was pretty bad ground at Haydock, I'd be willing to forgive him that. Give him another chance here, because I do think he's a quality horse. OK,
so is that the World's End for you, that he's your selection?
World's End for me.
OK, Brendan's going to stick with you know what I mean, Harry. Binners, what do you make of it? Who would you side with?
Well, I'm siding with James, Maddie, very much so. I was all over the World's End at Haydock. Actually, I think he would have won the Albert Bartlett if he'd stayed up. Admittedly, very disappointing at Haydock, but very heavy ground. I know it might be the same on Saturday. They're calling it the Rev de Civler Long Walk Hurdle, so that one loves soft ground. but he's had a run now, and I'm going to give him another chance because I know that at the beginning of the season, they really thought he was a real tool.
Okay, so lots of positive comments there for the World's End. Just remind us, what price can we get on him? Bit of value, perhaps?
10 to 1 shot, Maddie. The favourite looks very solid for Brendan, but at 10 to 1, take him on with the World's End.
That's what we like to hear. Right, also at Ascot on Saturday, we have the Lavazza Silver Cup Handicap Chase. Anything we're keen on in this, chaps? Go Conquer's a horse that's been on my radar for a while, and he's going to be positively backed in the market, you'd think, Binners?
Yeah, Go Conquer's a 6 to 1 poke, Maddie. And Single Farm Payment heads the market at 9 to 2. Beware the Bear joins Go Conquer on 6 is 13 to 2 gold present, 7,007 and 10 bar. Okay,
Single Farm Payment fell 3 out, of course, in the Ladbrokes Trophy last time. A lot of people thought he was the winner of that race. Jim, we kick off with you. Who's your selection?
Well, youngish horses have a pretty good record in this, so I'm going to go with Frodon here. Who's generally was been quite a consistent horse. Did well around this time last season when he had the 4-year-old allowance. Of course, he doesn't have that anymore. But he ran well first time up behind the King George favourite Might Bite. His official mark has actually gone down a pound since then. And I think he could go well here. Just a question of whether he's going to get the trip, because his best form is over shorter. But that was 3 miles last time and he ran pretty well. So if he gets the trip properly, then I think he could go well at an each-way price. Yeah,
he was staying on well last time. I don't think there's any reason to think he won't get it. Of course, that race at Cheltenham takes some getting. You need to stay in that race. Yeah. Usually they're 3 milers there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think he could get the trip. On breeding, there might be a doubt that he will. But 3 miles at Sound and takes some getting. I mean, he sort of made his own running, so you might say, this is going to be a much tougher race for him. It's going to need some getting, but he's definitely got ability. And as I said, his handicap mark isn't too bad. It'd be a career high performance if he could do it, but I think he's got a good chance.
Okay, Frodon, Binners, just remind us what price for him?
Frodon 12 to 1, Maddie.
12 to 1. Okay, 12 to 1 for Jimmy. That's not a bad price at all. Brendan, what about you? Did you have any strong opinions on this one?
I didn't, Maddie. I thought it looked very tough. I mean, he was so impressive the last stage. You said Go Conquer, but I was a little bit concerned about the softer ground. Beware the Bear is in the Welsh National as well, so I don't know which way he's going. I didn't really fancy anything at bigger prices. So no, just a bit too tough for me, that race.
Okay, fair enough. I mentioned before, and I think Walk in the Mill for Robert Walford. He's a trainer in form. I think he could go quite well. Ben, has anything jump out for you?
I quite like 007 for Nicky Henderson. Maddie, 5th to Might Bite in the RSA. Nice enough seasonal debut at Newbury. 3rd to a nice horse called Old Grangewood. Only thing is, Nicky Henderson hasn't won it for a while in this race. Last time we saw him in the winner's enclosure, 1994, when Fitzy rode Ray Milet.
Blimey, long time ago that one then. So you're going to put your faith in Henderson to pull this one out the bag. Yeah, okay, we're going to move on to the other big race on the card on the Saturday, of course. That's the Grade 3 Racing Welfare Handicap Hurdle. Plenty of very, very good horses in this. Elgin, of course, the Great Wood Hurdle winner. Verdana Blue, who won the Coots Handicap Hurdle over course and distance last time. I think Willie Mullins has even chucked a few in there that are interesting. And, of course, Henderson's big talking horse, Charlie Parks, who's still yet to really deliver on that promise. Have you got any betting for us, Binners?
Certainly have. 4 to 1 Charlie Parks, 6 Lost in Translation, 7 Elgin, 8 Silver Streak and Verdana Blue, and a couple on 10 bar.
Okay, Ben, let's go to you first this time. Give you a chance to get your thoughts out there first. Who's your selection?
Well, I'm going to take a chance with Lost in Translation. 6 to 1 poke for Colin Tizard, Maddie. Made all at Newbury on the 1st of December. Won well that day. I like the more positive tactics. I'm sure they'll probably employ them again. And a mark of 134 doesn't look too bad to me. Ben, as you've been listening to myself and Brendan and Jimmy talking beforehand, I think that's a really good mark, and I'm in agreement with you there. Maddie. Yeah, but got plagiarised. Okay, so Lost in Translation for us two, Binners. Brendan, what about you?
I very, very much respect the translation. I thought there was still some upside in Elgin, despite the £6 rise. The Greatwood looks like proper form. He showed a lot of heart and taxing ground because he's only 5, so he's entitled to improve. And I thought he'd go close again at the weekend.
Okay, nice and simple selection there. But Elwyn, yeah, I think we're perhaps in danger of underestimating him a little bit, aren't we, Jimmy? I mean, the new one, he ran an absolute stormer in the International. More of that later. Maybe it wasn't as open as we thought.
That's very good form, the Greatwood form. So I wouldn't put anyone off Elgin if they think he's going to run well. I've got to go with Charlie Parks. People say he's a talking horse, but I did think he ran pretty well first time up at Newbury. He made up ground pretty quickly, and I really thought he should have won. He's up £1 for that, which isn't that much. I do think he's nicely treated. If you look at his performance at Kempton last season when he won around Christmas time, I mean, that is really, really good. So if he can replicate that, then I think he's got a favourite's chance here.
Okay, Nicky Henderson, he absolutely loves the horse. I mean, he works in with Bouvedere. I think he's one of the best, says he's one of the best workhorses he's ever had. But do you think there's a reason in particular that he's not quite managed to win one of these already?
Well, I don't think he's done too much wrong, in fairness. He was running a bit disappointingly when he fell at Kempton in the Adonis Hurdle. And he might have still been feeling that when disappointing a bit in the Triumph. I mean, he didn't run that badly in the Triumph. But I thought that was fine for a first race of the season at Newbury last time. It's much more competitive this, but he should strip a lot fitter. And it's just if he can handle the hustle and bustle of a bigger field. If he can do that, if he's brave enough, then I think he's got to have a good chance, because I don't really see anything being more talented than him in this race.
That's a very, very interesting thought. Okay, Charlie Parks then for you. You're not going to be getting rich off that one, 4-1 handicap. No. But yeah, I mean,
it could be worse. I don't think there's much value in the price for what he's done overall in his career, because of course he has a few disappointments. But I think he's worth another chance, definitely.
Definitely. When Nicky Henderson has the belief in a horse like that, you have to sit up and take notice. Yeah. Moving on now, we've got the 2 Grade 2s on Friday, the Sky Bet Supreme Novices Hurdle, which looks an absolute cracker, and the Noel Novices Chase, of course. Now, we'll start off with the Supreme trial. Slate House is in there. He's got to give the weight away to Mr. One More, who won at the track last time. Brendan mentioned before we went on air a horse called Claiming Taken Forgan, who ran a nice race in the Champion Bumper and, of course, beat Lost in Translation at Newbury on his last start. Spinners, do we have any betting for this one, the Supreme trial?
We do, yes. That one Brendan mentioned, that Claiming Taken for Morgan, 9-4 favourite. 3 Mr. One More, 4 Slate House, 9-2 if the cap fit, 11-2, sorry, the clock is ticking, and it's 9 bar.
Okay, fantastic. Brendan, kick us off then. Is it Claiming Taken Forgan for you? Just refresh us.
Yeah, I think this is a proper horse. Like you, I really rate that Lost in Translation, particularly as a chasing prospect. But he could well go and win that big handicap on Saturday. The Cheltenham Bumper form from last season gets better by the week. But obviously, any amount of these can step forward, so you can't be that confident. It's a relatively skinny price, but I thought he was a worthy fav, yeah.
Okay, what about Slate House? Do you think he can give the weight away? I mean, they think an awful lot of him, and he's not done a lot wrong so far.
He hasn't done a lot wrong. Strikes me though as a horse, he needed every yard of the 2 mile and half a furlong in Cheltenham. And this race isn't even over 2 miles. It's 1.7 miles. I thought there might just be something a bit speedier than him in the race. And as you say, the penalty's tough. Yeah,
perhaps Ascot might not be Slate House's track. Jimmy, I mentioned Mr. One More. I like him a lot. He's a big, big baby. Did you have a particularly strong view on anything in this one?
Well, I backed Slate House at Cheltenham last time, and I thought he did very well to win, because I thought the ground was soft enough for him. And you know, he being an ex-pointer, they missed out quite a few hurdles, didn't they, because of the low sun, which can't have helped him.
Yeah, I remember Harry Cobden saying he wasn't too chuffed about that, I think.
No, well, neither was I watching this. I have to say, I was getting very worried. But he was very professional and did the job well, so I'm expecting a better performance from him here. But looking at the field, I don't necessarily see anything that's going to be too speedy for him. So I know he's got a penalty and it's a tough task, but I think, a smashing prospect, and with the yard in such tremendous form at the moment, I don't want to desert him.
Yeah, that's very true. He's done so little wrong, and as you say, he's got that massive reputation, and maybe we're just in danger of underestimating him again. I know he's drifted out from a bit shorter price than he was earlier this week. Quickly, Binners, anything on that one for you?
I quite like this if the cap fits, Maddie. He was a very good bumper horse, and he's done nothing wrong over hurdles so far, just winning a sort of small race at Bangor on D. It'll be interesting to see him stepped up in class for Harry Fry.
I know I'm going to give Nick Watts a mention here, but I think he's backed him for all sorts of Cheltenham races, so he really rates him. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Harry Fry runs both him and Mr. One More. Yeah, great trainer, and yeah, I'm in agreement there. He's a horse chock full of potential. It could be a great race if they all line up. Now we're going to move on to the Noel Novices Chase, which is a great race in its own right. Finian's Oscar is in there. I don't think he's going to run. We were discussing this beforehand. Perhaps the Feltham, I think they mentioned for him, but also the likes of Benatar, who was really impressive when he won on Chasing debut at the track, and a few others. Binners, kick us off with the betting for this one.
Well, we don't have any betting yet, Maddie, because of the doubts. I guess because of the doubts about Finian's Oscar. So nothing at present. But wouldn't it be great if Finian's does try and redeem his reputation in this? Yeah,
it would indeed. We were talking about his run in at Sandown beforehand, Jimmy, and you were pretty disappointed. I mean, you expected more, didn't we?
Yeah, it's certainly worth forgiving him that performance, but it was a bit flat, I thought. I mean, I was just surprised how quickly he got outpaced, because he is a horse of immense potential. I've never really felt he's an out-and-out two-miler, but nevertheless, I mean, he was well beaten before they got to the railway fences, really, wasn't he? Well beaten. And yes, it was a top race, but still, he was just not in the picture. And yeah, whilst I think he's going to come back for that for sure, I'd just be a bit hesitant whether he turns up here or whether it be the Cordo Star at Kempston. Just be a bit hesitant about backing him or going in again, because that was just lacklustre.
I don't think Ascot would necessarily be his track as well, with his jumping.
It's not dissimilar to Sandown, isn't it? Is it? So if he didn't really go well at Sandown, this coming up just a few weeks later, I mean, would you really want to lump on him?
It is over a bit further. Do you think that's going to help him?
Well, I'm sure it would help him. I mean, it would help him whether he was in form or not. But it was just strange for a horse who'd been looking so good earlier in the season. You had to say that was very disappointing. And yeah, I'd be surprised if he turned up here. I mean, I would think he'd probably go to the Cordo Star at Kempston, but we'll wait and see. Yeah,
I think that's the one they've mentioned, and Colin Tizard likes that race. Brendan, what about you? Any fancies for this?
Yeah, like you. I thought Finian's was more likely to go for the Feltham, but even if he does run, give him £5 to this Benatar be no bargain. And as you mentioned, it's a very difficult jumping track, Ascot, and Benatar's already jumped around it. You can pick holes in the form of that race, granted, but he does look like a horse with a big engine. He's only had 6 or 7 runs, I think. And I'm not sure this looks the strongest race either. So I thought even with Finian's in the race, Benatar would have a big chance, and without him, he'll be really hard to beat.
One I thought I'd give a mention to is Johnny Sofa. Won his novice chase really nicely, jumped superbly well, and I just think being one of these northern horses, he's perhaps likely to be a bit underestimated when he steps up in grade, but we'll have to see how they get on. Now finally we're going to go to Haydock, and of course they've got the Tommy Whittle. I'll ask you as well if you've got any other fancies this weekend or indeed this week. Starting off with the Tommy Whittle, Binners, how do we bet?
We've got no betting on that yet, Maddie. Hopefully, we maybe by the end of the day. I had a quick look through the card. I'm interested in Flintham there for the Bradstocks. That second to Jewel at Dawn last time. That form was frank with Jewel at Dawn running really well behind Sizing Tennessee at Cheltenham last weekend, and hopefully we're in for a great race up in the northwest.
Yeah, Plaid made again responsible for Flintham from the family of Coney-Gree. Of course, he's going to absolutely love the staying trip and soft ground, you'd have to think. Jimmy, anything in the Tommy Whittle for you?
I think Full Irish has got a chance. He looks one of the more progressive types in the race. I don't think this is a very high quality Tommy Whittle by any means. And therefore, I might just take a chance on Broadway Buffalo if he does return here. We haven't seen him for nearly 2 years, but he's a horse of a bit of class. I think he was second to Course of Causes, wasn't he, in the 4-miler at the festival? And he was a decent enough hurdler. And if he can return to the sort of form that has seen him run well at the course quite a few times, then he's definitely well treated. He stays all day, loves soft ground, and David Pipe tends to get them pretty fit when they do return to the track. So take a chance on him at an each-way shot. Yeah,
I'm sure you'll probably get a big price about him. He loves Haydock, as you've said. I'm a big full Irish fan. Brendan, over to you.
No, nothing for me, Maddie. The Haydock card didn't have too much appeal, I'm afraid.
OK, no problem. And we're going to look back to what was a brilliant weekend at Cheltenham, of course, straight after this break.
Paddy Power are offering huge money-back specials for the whole of December. Head to paddypower.com now for more information on the selected races. Max £10 refund per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
OK, welcome back to the Monday Postcast. We're now going to talk about what was a spirit-lifting international hurdle as the commentator decided to call it. What a performance from My 10 Till Yours. What a sight that was, having him, Mellon and the new one, of course, jumping the last all in line. I thought it was such a spectacle, brilliant race. I was lucky enough to write the report on it, and I thought, you know, it really delivered. He's been second in 3 Old Champion hurdles now, Binners. How does he bet for that?
Well, he was a 40-1 chance before the race, Maddie, and he's now 14-1. Which, as you say, he's run, you know, second in 3 of those champion hurdles. Always seems to run a race, and great to see the old boy get his head back in front.
Yeah, it was exactly. It'd been a long time. I think Barry Geraghty's first win on the horse, which is pretty surprising. What did you make of the race, Jimmy?
Well, it was a classic, wasn't it? Absolutely fantastic. And what a rivalry that those two horses have, My 10 Till Yours and the new one. I think they first met in an Aintree bumper in 2012. The new one came out on top on that occasion. But it was a terrific race, what we needed. And I thought it was, if anything, a pretty strong boost to Buvardere, who beat those two comfortably in last season's champion hurdle and at Aintree after that. And you have to say, when you see that race, you see My 10 Till Yours and the new one still dominating the British hurdling scene, you wonder why Buvardere isn't favourite.
OK.
For the champion hurdle.
I haven't seen a horse pull and race as enthusiastically as Mellon did in a long time. Now, I think he was entitled to get very tired after being that keen. Do you think if they can keep a lid on him and educating him, he's still very inexperienced, he could run a big race in the champion hurdle, or do you just think he
could run a big
keen?
Race and turn the form around with My 10 Till Yours or the new one? But I can't see how he's going to make up ground in terms of form on Buvardere. I mean, Buvardere was hugely impressive, I thought, at Newcastle. OK, the time wasn't that great, and you could say he didn't beat much, but he really did look very good indeed. And for him, whilst he was very impressive on his comeback, I mean, that was his first run in a long time. We've got to be sure. Can't be sure whether he's going to actually make Cheltenham or not. So, like I said, I do think Buvardere's, 5-2. I think around about 5-2. That's a great price.
Yeah, what price Buvardere for the champion hurdle, Binners?
Yeah, 5-2.
5-2,
James,
yeah.
Absolutely correct. Yeah.
Right, we're all getting stuck into that for the champion then. Now, Brendan, I'm at pains to mention this a little bit because you had a lot on the new one. What did you make of his performance? It was a great run.
Indeed, Maddie, as you said, it was spirit lifting if bank balance dropping, but it was a hell of a spectacle. Well, I mean, he ran his usual really solid race, went out, jumped well, he slightly missed one hurdle. And I always thought he was going to win, but the tent showed, not that he's an irresolute horse or anything, but he does struggle to get his head in front because he has to pass such tenacious horses like the new one. And I thought the ground would be too soft for him, but he did it really well in the end. It's a fair point you make about Mellon. He ran too free. He didn't jump great either. If they could sharpen up his jump, and maybe the old course would be more suitable to him than the new course. But you're scratching around outside of the front too, as James said. And
just also thinking, Brendan, that better ground would be better for Mellon as well.
Fair point. Fair point.
Kind of flat-bred horse.
Yeah, carry on, Brendan.
So that's basically it. I mean, the champion hurdle looks a match, so hopefully they both get there.
Yeah, indeed. Hopefully we have that tantalising conclusion with Faheen and Bouvedere, but it was still great to see my 10 or yours have another day in the sun. Now we're going to move on to the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup, which was of course won by Guitar Pete, but a race that was just so tragically marred by the loss of Starkitect. Before we just begin analysing this, I just want to offer my condolences to the connections of Starkitect, of course, the Rooneys, Tom Scudamore, David Pipe and everyone at Pond House. Absolutely gutting for them and just one of those horrible incidents. So our thoughts are with them. But we've got to talk about the winner, Guitar Pete. He won quite easily in the end, didn't he, Jimmy? He had his ears pricked. He was running on well.
Yeah, well, Guitar Pete's always been a decent enough horse. He's been around for a while now, but he's got a good record at Cheltenham, having been placed in the Triumph as a 4-year-old. So it's not entirely surprising that he managed to win. Tragic what happened to Starkitect, and of the others behind, I mean, it was difficult to fancy many in that race. There weren't many coming into it in form, and Clan des Obeaux never looked to be travelling that well, never looked to be quite the horse that we sometimes think he could be. I know he had top weight, so it wasn't a bad performance. So, yeah, Guitar Pete's going to go up a few pounds to that. I'd be surprised if he bettered that performance later in the season.
OK. I'd like to see him go up in trip with him, perhaps. I think that could be...
Well, you were saying, weren't you? Because he stayed so well up the hill.
Yeah, maybe. Brendan, what was your analysis of the race?
I think it's a very fair point about the trip, Maddie, because despite the fact that he put in a brilliant round of jumping, he was on and off the bridle for most of the race, wasn't he? His jumping kept him in it, and then he made a mistake, I think quite a bad mistake, 3 out, and I thought that's him goosed. But he showed a lot of tenacity to get back in it, and as you say, certainly for people who follow ears, it looked like he'd plenty left going up the hill. So he's going to go up. I suppose he's going to go up to something around 140 after that. And they might look at the race Foxtail Hill won last year on Trials Day. But the more I think about it, I think a step up and trip would be a good shout there.
Oh, thanks for us ear followers who watch the ears here. Binners, what did you make of Guitar Pete's effort?
Well, it's one of those races that in a few weeks' time, we'll probably forget who actually won the race, and because of the tragedy that happened in front, a bit reminiscent of many clouds at Cheltenham last season. The atmosphere took it really dropped after Starkitect went wrong, and as I'm with you, commiserations. But on the positive side, well done to Ryan Day. He only had his first ride at Cheltenham in what used to be the Paddy Power meeting last month. Well done to him. And Guitar Pete, he's a useful tool on his day. He's a dual group Grade 1 winner. And well done to Nicky Richards, whose horses do well when they come down south.
Here, well said. Now, we're going to talk about Apple Shakira, because there's been quite a lot going on in this Triumph Hurdle market over the last couple of days. We're not learning an awful lot about her, but she does keep just doing what she does and murdering her opposition. Now, Defi Desoy won these 2 races last year. Now, Apple Shakira recorded RPRs of 137 and then 132. And he did it the opposite way round. He went 132 and then 137. So they're very, very closely matched at this stage of their careers. Jimmy, is she your idea of the Triumph winner?
Well, I think most likely she's a Triumph winner, yes. We're going to talk about We Have a Dream in a sec, but I mean, I think Nicky Henderson's got 2 very good horses there. I think it'd be a big surprise to me if one of them didn't win the Triumph now. I mean, no, it's a long way to go till March, and a lot of these juveniles, tend to spring quite late in the campaign. The Adonis, you can sometimes get horses running first time out and then going on to win the Triumph. So we've got a long way to go in terms of the juvenile campaign. But to be honest with you, I don't think, from what I've seen so far, it's the strongest bunch. But those 2, particularly Apple Shakira, look very decent indeed. I thought, looked really good on Saturday, and I'm expecting more to come. I
think with her allowance that she's going to get as well, it'll take a very decent one to beat that.
Fillies have a good record in the Triumph too. So
Sister Apple's Jade was second in it to Ivanovic Gorbachev.
Yes,
of course, yeah.
Apple's Jade second, and she beat Gamble really easily last month. I mean, Gamble is definitely one of the better juveniles that we've seen. So to do that as comfortably as that has got to be impressive. The only question mark, you just got to see what she's going to be like on better ground over jumps. I mean, we haven't really seen that yet. But she definitely likes Cheltenham, definitely has a turn of foot and jumps well, so they've got a lot going for her.
Yeah. Apple Shakira, is she still around the 4-1 mark, Binners, for the Triumph?
Yeah, 7-2 favourite now, Maddie. And then you've got Gavin Cromwell's Esquire Dallin at 15-2. 8-1, We Have a Dream, who I think we're coming on to. And then it's 20-1 Bar. So we've just got three major hopes in there at the present time.
OK, Brennan, any pearls of wisdom on this Apple Shakira, or is it a case of we're not really learning a lot and we just got to enjoy her?
Well, I mean, we didn't learn enough. I suppose we learnt more the first time, the way they punted her off the boards late on. She has obviously a towering reputation at home, to the extent that the connections of We Have a Dream don't seem that interested in bobbing for apples. They're talking about ducking the Triumph. So maybe Henderson has said, don't waste your time. I think she's priced up on reputation to a degree, but I mean, she's obviously shown them serious gears at home, and they have plenty to work her with.
Yeah, another horse that showed serious gears was We Have a Dream in the Grade 2 Summit Juvenile Hurdle up at Doncaster. He jumped really slickly and put him in a really nice performance, Jimmy. Do you think perhaps he should be a bit shorter, or do you think that he should dodge Apple Shakira as Brendan sort of muted up?
Well, I mean, that's interesting if they're running scared of Apple Shakira already, because Nikki Henderson would know how good she really is, or will yet to get to anywhere near to the bottom of her. But We Have a Dream, I mean, yeah, he had a fairly big reputation before the summit, so we were looking for that sort of performance from him. But he delivered. I mean, I was very impressed with the way he quickened away from them. You can possibly say it wasn't the strongest opposition, but he did what he had to do. Of course, that was a race that Peace & Co. in the same colours won very impressively before he went on to win the Triumph. And I think it was Hargam won Apple Shakira's race, and that was the year Henderson had the first three home, Top Notch splitting the two on the day in March. So it wouldn't surprise me if we have a very similar situation come March. These two head of the betting and finishing first and second. Like I said, it's a long way to go, but they really do set the standard at present.
Henderson absolutely has a superb record in the Triumph.
He does, yeah.
Now, Brendan, I just wanted to ask you, did you see Stormy Island's win at Fairyhouse? 58 lengths. Do you think this horse could throw its hat into the Triumph win? Another filly? Yeah,
well, I mean, it's Willie Mullins. It was a typical, well, not a maiden hurdle, a juvenile hurdle, of course, in Ireland. There didn't seem to be many all that busy in the race, but 57 lengths is a long way to win any race. So unless they were all absolutely useless in behind, you'd certainly have to follow her with interest, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would indeed. Now, before the break, here's your chance to win a free £25 or €25 bet from Paddy Power. Simply tweet your answer to this question using the hashtag Postcast. Who won Saturday's International Hurdle? We'll announce the winner on Saturday's Christmas special. The free bet will be credited to your Paddy Power account.
Paddy Power are offering huge money-back specials for the whole of December. Head to paddypower.com now for more information on the selected races. Max £10 refund per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
OK, welcome back to the Monday Postcast. We're going to quickly spin through Sunday, kicking off with Next Destination's performance at Navan. I think he was cut to around 11-2 by Paddy Power for the Ballymore after that performance. He was pretty smooth, wasn't he? Binners, how did you react?
He was indeed, actually, Maddie. It's an interesting one, this. As you say, we went 11-2 from 10 for the Ballymore immediately after the race. He's now gone out to 8-1 for that heat with pundits such as Jimmy on the panel today in today's paper suggesting that the Albert Mark Bartlett might be more the race for him. But, I mean, if he were to line up at in the Ballymore now at 8-1, around 8-10-1, he could be some value, as our guys thought he was a 5's chance immediately after the contest.
It's very interesting, of course. A lot of people dodging Sam Crow, the big talking horse in that race. But he's pretty good, this Next Destination, Jimmy, isn't he?
Yeah, like I said in today's paper, I thought it was more a performance that made him look like a potential 3-miler for the future, rather than a speedy horse that you keep over that trip. I mean, the Navan Hurdle is a good trial for the Ballymore. So yeah, in the usual year, you could say he'd be a definite contender, and he is. It's just he could be up against a bit of a monster in Sam Crow for that whereas in the Albert Bartlett, the contenders won't be anything like as strong. I mean, usually it's the weakest of the three big novice hurdles at the festival. And when he ran also at Cheltenham last term in the Champion Bumper, he looked more of a sailor than a speed horse. So I think Ireland, they have a good record in the Albert Bartlett, particularly with horses that have good form at Navan. I mean, Navan's a good, strong testing track, which suits stayers. So he'd have the right sort of profile for that, certainly.
Okay, Brendan, are you in agreement? Next destination?
Yeah, well, he's very good. I mean, I'm hoping that they won't dodge Sam Crow. I imagine the decision will be made after Naas. There's a grade 1 in Naas in January, and Sam Crow's going for that. And certainly before Navan, they were talking about next destination going for that now. I mean, National Hunt Racing has a terrible habit of fluffing its fans, but if they could just get these two together, then they could make the decision. He certainly jumps like a horse who would be comfortable at the interim distance. He only made one mistake at the third last, and then he just winged back onto the bridle. He travels well. I think he's a right good horse. I mean, you don't often see a horse come up the hill in Navan like that. And it's the stiffest climb in Ireland, and it was really deep ground. He looks a proper horse, and we need something to take on Sam Crow, because on the blind side is the only one so far that so no things could come alive in the meantime. But we want on the blind side, and we want next destination to take on Sam Crow.
Yeah, of course we do. Brendan, very impressed with next destination there. Quickly, anything else stand out at Navan before I get your weekend eye catchers and your Christmas crackers, your best bets over the festive period? Brendan, anything catch your eye?
Yeah, there was a horse finished third in a handicap chase yesterday, Kilfenora. It was his first run in the handicap chase. He's only 5, hasn't had a lot of racing. Looks like a step up and trip would be no harm, and his jumping could improve as well. But I'd say he'd be hard to beat the next time he runs, and possibly over Christmas, actually. So if you see him running over Christmas at either Leopardstown or Limerick, I would be inclined to play.
Okay, excellent. Anything else from the weekend, Brendan?
Maybe Clanda's Oboe. Just he did a lot of damage early jumping out to the right about the first 6 or 7 fences. And it didn't look like, again, he stayed on quite strongly. I was thinking maybe that Bet Bright Chase at Kempton might be the ideal race for him, up to 3 miles on a right-handed track. So I'll wait and see if he's entered with that in that.
Yeah, I like the sound of that course. He finished second at Kempton behind Whisper before he ran at Cheltenham. Binners, quickly, anything stand out at Navan or any eye catchers for the weekend for you?
I did like the look of that horse Gooseman, Maddie. One for Tom Taft. Great ride by Andrew Lynch. Won the 2.5 mile novice chase. And Tom Taft was suggesting that in a couple of years' time they might be looking at Bright Light. So it'd be interesting to see how that fellow's career progresses. Okay,
excellent. And Jimmy, anything at Navan for you or anything of the weekend?
Well, I've certainly a couple at the weekend that caught my eye. A couple of the winners. Colondra was one at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Horse that I've always been looking forward to going over fences, and I thought he really came into his own at Cheltenham on Saturday. Travelled well, jumped well, and quicker nicely up the hill. I think Neil Mulholland's got a horse with some potential there around about that trip at 2.5 miles. I think Neil Mulholland formerly used to train. That's Peter the Mayo Man now with Paul Nicholls.
Yeah.
Won on the Friday at Doncaster, and I was very impressed by him. I would say he's by no means a natural in terms of jumping style, but what was evident was how much scope he had. Really impressive, and he quickened away from Stowaway Magic, who's quite a decent horse. And he's got lots of pace too, so I think over 2.5 miles, he's going to be some tool this season as well.
Okay, I like that very much. Right, chaps, finally, just to get your Christmas cracker before we bow out, we want your best bets for the festive period. Jimmy, you first.
Best bet at this stage, I go Whisper each way in the King George. I think he could sort of pick up the pieces late on. A lot of the runners, I think, will be going quite hard up front. And Whisper, who's, along with Bristol Mire, really is the form horse of the race, has been so consistent of late. And he won well at Kempton earlier in the season, so I expect him to go well. And I think he's better value than taking a short price about Might Bite. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Might Bite, as you know, but the price really has gone about him now, whereas I think there's a bit of each-way value with Whisper. Just another horse I'm really looking forward to seeing over Christmas he's probably too short a price to really get excited about having a bet on his footpad. He's going to be running at Leopardstown, I think on the 26th, and he really does look a proper natural over fences. I mean, on his debut, I've rarely been as impressed by a debutant over fences in terms of jumping as I was with him. The last time I think I was as impressed with that was with a horse called Twist Magic, who we remember was, I think he won 2 Tingle Creeks, didn't he? So I think he could go quite far. So I'm going to be getting my eyes glued on him on the 26th.
Excellent. Right, Brendan, Christmas cracker for you.
Might bite in the King George. There's no need to back him now. I'd say with price wars, etc., you'll get 2 to 1 on the morning of the race. As James mentioned, between Whisper and Disco, there's plenty of horses stepping up. It looks like it's going to be a deep race, but they will be mere acolytes to witness his ascension to the top of the chasing tree.
Oh, I like that an awful lot. Right, might bite in the King George, then hopefully they all get there in one piece and it's the race we think it can be. Binners, Christmas cracker, anything for you?
Well, I've got to go for the Paddy Power chase at Leopardstown on December the 27th, Maddie. The very valuable feature. I'm really keen on Acapella Bourgeois around the 8 to 1 mark. He was second to Polydam, who heads the market at Navan earlier in the month, and back up to 3 miles. I think this could be the one to fill your Christmas stocking.
Okay, wonderful. If you've enjoyed listening to this, make sure you subscribe and rate us on iTunes, of course. Join us on Thursday for the football postcast and again on Saturday for the Postcast Christmas special covering all the festive racing. There'll be absolutely everything you need on that postcast. Join us then. Thanks for joining us.
Paddy Power are offering huge money-back specials for the whole of December. Head to paddypower.com now for more information on the selected races. Max £10 refund per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.